Hello, guys. Um, Good afternoon from Germany here. Uh, we'll just wait for a couple of minutes before we start because it's just 7 p.m. in India. So hi, Ameya, and hi, Shreya. Yeah, people are joining now. So let me start the session. So hi everyone, this is Vijay Pravin Maharajan. So as you have probably browsed through my profile, I've did my masters in electrical engineering from Technical University of Munich. Uh, Hello, just a second. Let me mute. Shreya. Yeah. So presently, I work as a data analytics expert at Siemens Mobility Munich. So I'm living in Germany since 2013. So it's been six plus close to 7 years in Germany right now. So I'd like to throw some ideas or throw some light on the opportunities of students or further graduates in Germany. So first, I would like to talk about the universities. I mean the standard of education, for instance, in Germany. So here you have technical universities, as you might have known. I mean, like TU9s are comparable to IITs in India. So let's say we have TU Berlin, TU Munich. So the term technical university is more or less you can match it with IITs. I mean, the competition isn't that high in terms of IITs. Believe me, because I am also a student of TU. But to be honest, I mean, like it's highly competitive. So I mean, not as much as IITs, but still it is competitive. And yeah, just a second. I'm getting some messages. Yeah. So regarding the other universities, I mean, like, is it worth doing a master's only in TUs? No, never, not at all. So you can also pick universities across Germany. I mean, like, the beauty about Germany is you get an opportunity to work as a work student while you are studying. So that is one good thing about Germany. And if you look at most other universities, they have tie up with a system called Uni Assist. So most of the universities in Germany, if you apply through the university, you might have to go through the Uni Assist system, where you will pay for the university fees or the application fees, for instance. So that is a common or more or less a generic system which you might have to go through. So talking about TU9s, as I said, there are 9 technical universities across Germany which are doing really good. I mean, like, if you want to get into research, for instance, if you want to do PhD in the future, it's better to do your masters in one of the TU9s because their courses are highly focused on research based. So the exposure you get there, the university professors, they are like IEEE members or professorships will be there. So you will be more engaged into research. So that opens up the possibility for you to do a PhD in the future. And talking about other universities, as I said, it depends. I mean, like, you can either go with the rankings, but in my opinion, rankings in German universities doesn't make that much of a sense. So probably you might have to just a second. You can ask Sorry. Yeah, again there were a few questions in between. So, for instance, coming to the grading, so the grading is completely different here. So, the best is 1.0 and the worst is 5.0, which is, I mean, uh, not a qualified grading here. So, if you are trying to do a PhD later on in your career, I would recommend you to stay within 1 to 2. So, that is very important for you guys. And talking about the application process, it is not that complicated like other countries. So most of the universities they do have direct selection criteria. I mean, like you might have to upload your documents to UniAssist or send your documents to the university address, and then later on you will get a response either through UniAssist or you will be getting an email where you could probably do a telephonic interview or a Skype interview. So if you are applying for TU9, you might end up in a telephonic interview or Skype interview, probably from a professor or the assistants, technical assistants from the university. But you don't have to worry about the contents or the questions that they'll ask, because they'll probably tell you beforehand about what they'll be asking. For instance, analytics. If you apply for data analytics course, they might ask you questions from statistics, Python, or something like that. So that is one thing. And regarding the job opportunities right now, as you might have seen my profile, I'm working here since 2015. I mean, right after the masters. Initially, I worked with Telefonica for a couple of years, and now I am working with Siemens as a data analytics expert. So, just a second, let me mute a couple of fellows who newly joined. So, if you look at the opportunities right now, IT is doing really good. I mean, like the common perspective, if you talk about Germany, is mechanical engineers. There is the general myth that we all have that if you are a mechanical engineer, go to Germany. Yes, that is true, but it is not the same now. Things have changed rapidly. So now, if you have degrees like IT, information technology, computer science, engineering, data analytics, you hold a good chance in the industry. And not only about ITCS, it's all about electrical, electronics. Even myself, I come from an electrical engineering background, but later I switched to data analytics domain. So it's not that mechanical engineers hold a lead in Germany. So don't worry about your background or anything. There are really good opportunities, and in terms of job, as I said, they'll provide you 18 months of what do you say, job search visa. So that is actually good. I mean, like if you look at some of the countries like UK, for instance, they don't have this much of freedom. I'm not sure about the current rules and regulations over UK. They have changed it in the recent times, but I'm pretty sure that you have 1.5 years of job search, job seeker, or a job search visa that will be provided right after your masters. So within 18 months, I'm sure anybody can find a job in Germany. So you don't have to worry about that thing. But the thing is, you have to be consistent. You have to be constant. So, like how you brush every day, how you build your relationship with people, it doesn't happen overnight, right? So you have to do it day by day, day in and day out. You should be doing that. Just a second. Hi, Avinash. Hi. So, yeah, that is the thing. And just regarding the universities, yeah, and the other important factor, so German language. That is the thing that you need to invest in a lot, in my opinion. So, that is the only downside of picking Germany. I mean, not a downside. Always having an additional language in your feather, in your cap is always a good thing. So learn German. Start learning German. Hi Avinash, I'll just mute you. So I mean, as soon as you fix Germany as a target, I would highly recommend you to start learning German. So you don't have to blame about your city or where you're from if you need to learn German. So you have beautiful applications like Duolingo, and a couple of other applications as well uh, in both Android and iOS. So start learning, like do some simple lessons one by one. If you look at my history, I landed in Germany without even knowing what is German language. So yes, you can learn German after coming here. You have 2 years of master, so you get free German classes from the universities where you can learn German language. But I would highly recommend you to pick German in your free time. So that actually helps. That actually helps you. Hi, Balagan. Hi. So German language is a must, at least when you go for the jobs. So not only for the universities. When you start applying for universities, German won't be an issue. I mean, there are of course certain universities like Duisburg, SM. They provide some partial German courses. So if you want to study such courses, yes, you are very welcome to do that. But in my opinion, I would say pick English taught courses, do that, and get a job. In the meantime, learn German so that you have options wide open. I mean, like uh, if you look at cities like Munich, Berlin, Frankfurt, and Stuttgart, you don't find that much of issues. You find a job. But if you go to a smaller city, then that then comes the problem. So that's why I would highly recommend you to go for the language right from the moment you pick Germany as your option. And coming to the visa process, I mean, like it's not that complicated like the other countries. It's pretty simple, straightforward. I've heard that. Just a second. I've heard that it the visa process and the visa appointments are a bit tricky right now at the moment, but I'm really pretty not sure. So as soon as you start applying for the universities and getting the admits, just stay open and like don't prolong your processes. Some might have to take bank loans, some might have to get some debt, or I mean, like you might break the savings from your parents. So just be proactive and book the visa appointments. That is also one of the main things because I have seen people who struggle to get visa slots, and then comes the issue with booking a slot, and then the visa process itself takes some time. So I would recommend you to be proactive. And then coming to accommodation, getting an accommodation here in Germany is also quite complicated stuff and process. Not all the universities provide accommodations to students who come right from any countries. So it's also better if you look for options for accommodation, and particularly in cities like Munich, Frankfurt, Berlin, and Stuttgart. Finding an accommodation is a difficult thing, so it's like again finding an university to study. So please be proactive on that. And yes, that's the main stuff. And let me answer a couple of questions here from our friends. So till what? A question from Shreya. Till what language would you recommend learning German? I would say start with A1. Initially, I mean that's the base. A2, B1 is ideal in all ends. I would say B1 is highly recommended, or at least before you chose to do a job. I mean, like here the job and the salary and the promotions, it all depends on how good your German is. So I mean, it's up to you. So if you want to just earn, do your daily routines, and do it monthly on a routine wise, then even A1 is fine. But on a generic perspective, I would recommend you to have B1 or at least A1 or A2 till the application process. That also boosts your application process. And yes, there is a question from Aravind. Can we get this recording after this webinar? Yes, of course, Arvind. The video will be posted on Foreign Admits YouTube channel, and I hope you could see this video again if some might have joined late. And yes. So, and regarding the process, so the question regarding the process, it's like, what would be the deadlines for the university? So usually there are like two intakes, winter intake and summer intake, as like US. So winter intakes, you have to be little proactive. So the intake is during September or October. So the deadlines hover around February to May in that previous year. So what you have to do is, as soon as you finish your degree, I hope that is around April, May or June of the academic year in India. So I would recommend you to take IELTS as soon as you start your fourth year. Okay, I'm gonna mute another couple of guys. So prepare well for IELTS. In terms of requirements, I guess IELTS is enough for most of the universities. I mean, getting a good band is also important. So if you are applying, if you are targeting TUs, technical universities, you should be aiming something at 7.0 band or even more. Even 6.5 is okay, but getting a 7 band in IELTS pushes your profile ahead of others. And in terms of other requirements, you could write GRE. It is also a mandatory stuff if you apply for elite universities. And some of the universities even accept GATE examinations from India. So there is also one. And yes, thanks a lot. Just a second, another question from Tanisha. I want to pursue MS in CS, preferably in bioinformatics in fall 2021. From bioinformatics, I would say the place where I graduated, TU Munich, Technical University of Munich, is really good. And you could pick universities like Saarland in the north, or Hamburg as well. So bioinformatics, particularly biofield, is also handing a decent amount of jobs to the students or the job seekers in the country. So I've seen the rise of bio over the years, so it's actually good. So you also have a really good scope. Right now, as far as I know, mechanical engineers face a bit of competition. I mean, like mechanical engineers, they were the ones who started coming to Germany because German engineering and German automobile makers, they wanted a lot of mechanical engineers to come to the country, and they have been coming to Germany since decades. So now they face a bit of high competition. So I recommend each and every mechanical student looking at this video to ace up your sleeve and learn German right from the day you think about Germany. Because a German mechanical engineer, I would say B1 is the minimum for you guys. So just be proactive and start learning the language. If you look at the people from IT, computer science, electrical and electronics, they're okay. I mean, like you can have A1, A2. That's not a mandatory thing. But for mechanical engineers, you might have to talk to clients and customers. So since the competition is really high, I would recommend you to learn German much faster than the others. And what else? What are the other questions? hmm So, and then anything else? Any questions from your side, guys? So, yes. Any questions? Hello? Yes. Can you please throw some light on the financial aspects? Yeah, so financial aspects, I mean, like if you look at countries like US, Canada, or New Zealand, I would say they are much more expensive than coming to a master's in Germany. Doing a master's in Germany is like almost same or half of your fees what you invest in your bachelor's in India. So it's that cheap. I mean, not cheap as in like uh, as you say, but if you look at US, you might have to invest 30 to 50 lakhs or even more if you get an admit in US from university in US. But if you look at Germany, you might have to spend approximately 10 to 12 lakhs, roughly 10 to 12 lakhs. That includes your education, your accommodation, your expenses, everything. Altogether, you might have to spend 10 to 12 lakhs. It also depends on how proactive you are. I mean, like the chances of getting a student job here in Germany while you're studying is really good. So if you get a job, let's say in second semester or third semester, or let's say even in the fourth semester, you could do your thesis in the in a company. So that they will pay you, so you can take care of the living expenses. And if you look at the expenses for your education, it is literally free. So you don't have to worry about the financial stuff that much. So any bank, if you just go in and go out, they might be able to give you a loan for like 10 to 12 lakhs. That is not a big amount. If you consider doing a master's in US or Canada, you might end up paying 50 or more lakhs. So in that perspective, Germany is much better. That is one of the biggest positives I can tell about Germany. And other questions? Just a second. So, couldn't hear you, sir. Okay. What sort of fields? Another question from Shreya. What sort of fields are coming up in electronics and telecommunications in Germany? So, if you look at my background, I almost did what you are looking at. I basically did masters in communications engineering. So the advancements that we have here in terms of 3G or 4G, let's say even 5G is almost up here. So that is networking, which is really good, and also regarding the telecommunications is a lot of advancements in terms of IoT, Internet of Things. So you could even pick IoT as your specialization, connected devices, for instance. And a lot. I mean, the communication always provides a great opportunity. So, financial difference between unaided and aided universities. I would say most of the universities here are aided, like they are funded from the state or from the government. So, some of the universities have started charging for the students. For instance, University of Stuttgart, they ask for a fees of 2,000 euros per semester, if I'm not wrong. But in general, most of the universities in Germany are almost free. So a semester fees is like 200 to 300 euros, which is like 20,000 rupees in India. Not a big deal, right? And a question from Ameya. Third year mechanical engineering students, so is job required before MS for internships in Germany? If you get an internship before doing masters, that is of course great opportunity. I mean, like not a lot of companies in India provide internships, but if you get one, pick one, do it. That boosts your profile, and particularly as you say that you are in your third year mechanical engineering, it is really good that you tag along some internships and certifications in your profile. So build your profile with different dimensions. For instance, if you can go for a couple of internships, you can go for a couple of paper presentations. So mold yourself, do a lot of paper presentations, do a lot of projects, do a lot of internships, industrial trainings. Companies like, particularly for electronics and telecommunications, um, Shreya, you could also look for opportunities in companies like BSNL, government, Bharat Sanchar Nigam Limited. So these type of companies, they provide industrial trainings or industrial visits for students. So you might go there, ask ask for such things to some people. You might end up getting a certificate of 7 days or a week, or a couple of weeks. So that also boosts your profile. And don't be so generic to your SOPs. Just write whatever you do in your free time as well. So let's say if you play cricket, go ahead, add it on your SOPs. And if you do any hobby like cooking, dancing, or collecting coins, stamps, for example, you can always add these to your profile in your SOPs. That will boost your visibility among the others. So try to be creative and innovative. I mean, it is not just about marks. That is a good thing about Germany, because here the marks are not highly valued. I mean, of course, there will be some criteria, but if you have a work experience, if you have an internship that covers up your profile, then that is an added advantage. So always go for that. And the question, interested to do masters in AI. Kindly mention some companies for internship. Artificial intelligence, machine learning. Yes, there is also doing really well in Germany at the moment. So in terms of companies, application process in Germany is completely different. I mean, like here you don't have placements as like in India. I mean, like companies don't visit the campuses, and they don't also have campus drives in a common place where you can go and attend. So here you should directly apply to the company's website. Then you might have to upload your documents to the career website, and that's it. You might see, you might have look at some of the trade fairs and career fairs, but those will help. But ultimately, it is you should apply to the profile. So if you want me to name some companies, I would say Amazon is really doing good in AI. Google, for instance, and Siemens, BMP, and a lot of American companies in particular, Intel, Google, Facebook, Uber. So these companies are investing heavily on AI, and they are doing good. Which universities would you suggest for mechanical engineering? I was asking if I do a job for a year. Yes, experience counts, Amaya. So you could do a job right after completing your bachelor's, and then do an IELTS, prepare yourself much better. So that allows some time actually. But the thing is, once you get some money on your hand, some people lose interest in doing masters. So just make sure that you always have that trust to do a masters in abroad. And particularly if you are targeting Germany as mechanical engineer, it is really good that you improve your German. And that is vital. What else? Any other questions? So, computer science. So for mechanical engineers, suggestion for universities, I'd say RWTH Aachen. They are a well-known mechanical hub, I would say. And in terms of automotive engineering, I would recommend you to pick Ingolstadt, University of Ingolstadt, which is in Bavaria, and Berlin Technical University of Berlin. They provide really good masters in management if you want to uh, go deeper into management stuff. Shwani, not able to hear my voice. Okay, is it better now? So someone said that my voice is not clear. Are there any specific scholarship? Yes, there are scholarships available for I mean not only Indian in general. So there could be universities which offer some scholarships particularly for Indians, but in general I would say it depends on very little. It depends very little on your history. Most of your scholarship applications are based on what you do with your masters. So right from the moment you start studying here in Germany, in your first semester, score well, do some projects, do some presentations, technical projects, or uh, some assignments or something like that. Strengthen up your profile. So the main thing is even the education is literally free here. So you couldn't expect a lot of scholarship like in US. So if you look at the education fees in US, it's like 30 lakhs, approximately 30 or 40 lakhs. So you need scholarships for that. But speaking about Germany, the educational fees here is like very minimal. So it is, as I said, for all the 4 semesters. For uh, for the non-aided universities, you might have to pay 10,000 euros or something, which is again 8 lakhs in terms of education. So universities like the Technical University of Munich, my own university, they charge very less, like 50,000 for your whole masters. Imagine 50,000 Indian rupees for the whole masters. You can't even get an art degree from India with that money. So it is that cheap. So you can't expect a lot of scholarships before joining, but of course after joining, with your marks, with your gradings, and with your potential, you can, like, it is also another sort of an earning. So you could earn a bit using your scholarships. You might end up getting 1,000, 2,000, or 5,000 euros as a scholarship based on your credentials. And what else? Is there any other question? What is the difference between Hochschule and TU? That is a good question. I mean, TUs, as I said at the beginning, technical universities. You can compare it with IITs. So we have 9 technical universities in Germany, which are compared to close to, I mean, earlier it was in 9 IITs, and now there are a couple more. So Hochschules, they focus more on practical stuff. So they prepare yourself for the industry much better. That doesn't mean that TUs don't prepare you for the industries. I myself, I'm a graduate of TU Munich, but I work for Siemens for some time now. I have been in industry 5 years, more than 6 years. So hopefully they provide you better practical experiences. Their academics were designed in such a way. But TUs, if you want to do PhD in the future, I would suggest you to pick TUs. Is there articleship available to reduce the living cost? To reduce the living costs, I mean, as a student, you can pick a student dorms. You can live in a student Wohnungs or WGs. You can rent an apartment, and 4 or 5 people can share that together. But in my opinion, pick a city like Frankfurt, Berlin, Munich. Pick a city, you have more opportunities. So you get part-time jobs, for example, and there is a website called Numio. If I'm not wrong, they provide you with uh, what is the expenses, what are the daily expenses in a city like Munich, Frankfurt. You can browse through that website, And if you live in a city, the opportunities you get are more. So the work student offers, the the chances that you do multiple jobs is also again there in a city. So it enhances your ability to stay active. That is one other thing. If you are in a smaller city, you will be less motivated. So there is thing. Or the English medium university is unaided. Not exactly. So English medium universities. I mean, like to be honest, there are no English medium universities. You have German classes and courses all the time. On top of it, you have English taught programs. So universities like TU Berlin, TU Munich, TU Stuttgart, and then there is another beautiful university which is Karlsruhe Institute of Technology (KIT). They provide English taught programs. So that doesn't mean they are unaided. If you look at TU Berlin, TU Munich, they still charge 300 or 400 euros per semester, 32,000 per semester. So it doesn't depend on the medium of instruction, rather it depends on the place where you do your masters. So if you do masters in Baden-Württemberg, it is a state in Germany. So Baden-Württemberg imposes a fees on every student who do their masters. Previously it was almost literally free, but now they have charged the students. So that is one thing. And I have another question here. Now I'm doing projects in AI. Really good. The topic is classification of retinopathy using AI. Good. Is this boost my resume to get station? Okay, so your background is an undergraduate in electronics and instrumentation, but you are doing projects on retinopathy using AI, which is really good. Your background doesn't matter. I mean, like you did internships in E&I domain, that was good. Your UG course is E&I, but now I'm doing projects in AI. Okay, that is perfectly fine. I mean, no harm in doing a project from a different specialization. So, for instance, if I look at my profile, I hold a master's in electronics and instrumentation as well. I'm a E&I grad in my bachelor's in India, and I did masters in electronics again. I picked my specialization as communications since I was working as a work student in Telefonica in my early days, and then I somehow moved into data analytics, and then now I'm a data analytics expert in Siemens. So your background, I mean, doesn't have to be a stopping point or a halt for your progress. So it is all about learning. So if you're an E&I student, but if you're good at your other projects, that helps. So don't stop what you're doing. What you're doing is really good. When should we apply for the universities? How many months before the admission? Yeah, thanks for getting back to this question. So as I said, here we have two intakes. One is winter intake and the other one is summer intake. Winter intakes are in October and November. So for them, the application deadlines were like February or April. So just 5 months before the application or before the classes begin. So just make sure that you have all the documents well prepared and documented in January or February. And you might have to apply around February, March if you need to get admissions in September. But there are some universities who have their application process open until May. But I would say it's like a risk. So don't hold back. Be proactive. Do the documentation. Keep everything ready. And once the application process begins, just make sure you fill in everything and send everything exactly at the right time, so that you don't get lost or your application package get locked somewhere or delayed in the process. And looking at the other intake, which is summer intake, so the classes starts around April. So for them, the application deadlines will be around November, December, or January. So basically, you have two intake phases. One is February to May, which is the most important phase where most of the universities open up their courses. I repeat, it is February to May, and the other intake is in between December to January or May till February. So yeah, so you should be prepared minimum of 4-5 months before you want to go to Germany. So if you are applying for winter 2020, let's say this 2020 winter intake, the classes will begin for you in September or October 2020. But the application process probably for some universities might have already opened. But it will be open until March, April or May. You need to be specific about universities because you need to go check with their pages. So here in Germany, you don't have a specific page where you can see the deadlines and everything. So you need to dig in and put some research and effort in finding out specific university web pages. Write it down, make an Excel, prepare your sheets, and then set a reminder on your mobile phones, and then that's it. I mean, like you can be as a programmed robot who sends an application one after the other to the universities. What are the must things before applying, like IELTS score? Before applying like IELTS score, and I actually don't get your question right, but as I said, IELTS, it's better if you write or target for IELTS exam before 6 to 8 months, because you need to apply for the exam, then you will get the result, and even for the slot for the exam takes a while. So let's say if you are targeting 2020 winter intake, you should be enrolling for IELTS now. I mean, this is even late. You should have applied for IELTS much before. I would say target in December, appear for the exam in January or February. Then the result takes 1 to 2 weeks. You get the result, make xeroxes, take attested copies with any gazetted officer like a lawyer or anyone who has a green ink in India, and then send it along with your application profile, along with your SOPs, LORs, and whatnot, your grades and everything. Anything else? Any questions? Now I am having data sets for malaria and pneumonia. Kindly explain about in which environment I have to run that coding. Well, like if you have data sets of some of the diseases, what you could do is you could pick Python. You can first you need to see what exactly do you want to figure out. So it is about that particular disease or the impact or the number of people or the casualty you want to report. So just narrow down your question or the data set, what you want to achieve, and then in my opinion you can pick Python as a language. You can figure out what algorithm or what patterns you want to find, and then you can also visualize it with tools like Tableau or Spotfire. Anything else? Anything else, Shreya and Ameya? For getting enrolled into German universities, which aspect is considered to be most important? Is it SOP, LOR, publications, or UG marks? So if you want to apply for TU9 technical universities, I would say have a good grade, because universities like TU Munich, they pick students who have more than 8, maybe in some cases 8.5 CGPA. But in general, other universities you can have 6.5 and above, 7, which is safer side. And SOP, yes, you should have a really good SOP. Germans, they invest a lot of time not in looking at your marks, but in looking at your SOPs and LORs. So get a good SOP, and even your LOR should be from a doctor, a professor who has a PhD. So that is actually a lot better. So try to get LORs from, if you're working in a company, get it from your manager or your boss. If you are doing bachelor's, then get it from some professor who has PhD. So PhDs are highly valued in Germany here. So get a LOR from a good professor, not just someone who teaches ethics or some random lessons. So go for a good LOR. And publications, I mean, of course it helps, but in my opinion, they don't have too much of weightage on publications. As I said, they weigh your internships and practical experiences a lot rather than publication. So you should be having done more projects. For instance, you could create a Git repository and store your code right there, and these things would help. Is the campus ambassador? Being campus ambassador, yes. Being campus ambassador and technical representatives for universities will of course help boost your resumes to get seats in abroad universities, particularly in Germany. So, as I said, try to be more creative and broaden your profile. I mean, don't just stick to your grades and what you do in classes. And pick opportunities like being a campus ambassador for a college like IIT Chennai or IIT Guwahati, be a technical representative for their symposiums, be a marketer. In such a way, you also develop your marketing skills, and you also have a certificate for that, which is a good thing. So try to engage yourself in various activities. Any other questions? For GRE scores, most of the universities, they don't ask for GREs in Germany. Unlike universities from US, you don't need GRE for most universities. But yes, of course, if you want to target elite universities, as I said, TU9, Technical University of Munich or Berlin or Karlsruhe Institute of Technology, they look at your GRE scores. In that case, out of 340, which I'm not wrong, 340 is the newest pattern, right? I guess that's of course. So out of 340, I would say 330 or above. It's a really good score. But I mean, like Germany, they don't care about how good your GRE scores are. So even a 320 or 310 will still be a good score. So yeah, GRE isn't that important for Germany. So yes, we had a nice session. So important suggestions, or I would like to rewind the session. So pick TI, TU9 universities. Those are really good. Have a look at Uni Assist. It helps you guide the application process and think about improving your German language skills. That is the only thing you need to do extra if you are targeting Germany. And financial aspects, it is not that expensive like as US or something like that. So don't worry or don't be burdened with financial stuff. And what else? So I wish you all the very best. Thank you very much for all your time. So, I mean, if you have any doubts, just ping me over LinkedIn. So you can browse at Vijay Pravin Maharajan on LinkedIn. I could be able to help you anytime. Thank you. Thank you, Amia. Thank you, Shreya. Thank you, Manisha, and thank you, Vignesh. Thank you. Thank you very much, and I'm looking forward for such a session in the future, sometime in the future. Thank you. Thanks. Thanks a lot.